Hello for the first Sunday of Advent. I've chosen Isaiah 2, 1-5, and Matthew 24, 37-44. All about time. Advent and time. Using time, not wasting time. I have a cousin, David, who at many of the family parties, at least in the past, after having a few beers, and maybe a few beers too many, we would all ask him to sing a song, and it is a song of Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay. And he was pretty doggone good at singing that song, especially after a few beers. I wonder if he knows what this song sort of means. Probably does. But you know, sitting on the dock of the bay, this singer, Otis Redding's classic now, the singer looks homeward to Georgia while he's sitting there wasting time on San Francisco's dock of the bay. Sort of reminds me of Advent. Longing for home in Georgia. Longing for home in heaven. A child does it when the first time he ever goes to camp. Many of students do it when they go to the university. Many immigrants experience it when they're away from home. And especially soldiers, say in Afghanistan, longing for home. I did it when I went to Innsbruck to study, left this country, family, friends, and stayed there for 4 years. I thought about home and looked forward to coming home when I was ordained, and was. Advent is a time like that. A time like Otis Redding's sitting on the dock of the bay. But you don't just sit there forever. Our spiritual home is heaven, of course. And we look forward to that. And the prophet Isaiah gives us some things to do before we get there. For example, he says, heaven will be a time when the world will beat their swords into plowshares. Like, there'll be a time when there will be no nuclear Irans or threats of war, nuclear war. There will be a time when no one nation will not raise the sword against another, as Isaiah says. There will be a time, and it will be a time, when we don't spend most of our money in nuclear armament and threats of war. Nice ideas, but how far away are they? Well, you better not just sit there on the dock of the bay and get depressed. If you're a kid at camp, you better get off your butt and enjoy camp. If you are a student, you better buckle up and be a student. If you're an immigrant, get a job. If you're a soldier, be one so that you can have the honor of being a veteran in our country. We look forward to finishing the job and being in another place. If we just dwell on and whittle away our time in dock of the bay, it's deadly. It's depressive. We totally get involved in doing nothing and looking and feeling the absence of home. We're supposed to do both. That's what our religion is all about. We look forward to heaven, but we don't just say, I'm not there, there's nothing to do. There's a lot to be done. So we're called to get off our butt and love people and forgive people and do some meaningful things. You know, Christ said the poor will all be with you. Well, should we take that and say, yeah, they sure will, so why should I do anything for the poor? Baloney. People will say the worlds and the nations and the countries are always at war. Why should I do anything about nuclear warfare? People will say my wife's just that way, or my husband, or the business world is, why should we do anything about my wife, husband, or the business world? Advent is a time when we have the future in mind and the now in the present, and try to improve things as we, in our hearts, look forward from the time we'll be with our God, all the people that we ever loved that are deceased now, the time when we all get along and there'll be justice. So, you know, this clock here, you know, time. Now is the time to do the work of Jesus Christ. Finally, once I heard a sermon way back when I was in high school. I went to my sister's graduation, and the priest got up there and screamed at 100 graduates at my sister's class, "Don't just sit there, do something." And he would do this little point, and then he'd scream at me, "Don't just sit there, do something." Well, that's what the church is trying to say. Don't just sit there and dwell on an imperfect world, but get up, stand up, and do something for Christ. I think that's the real meaning of Advent. To look a little bit to the past, to look a little bit to the future, but to look primarily in the present in trying to do what Jesus would do. Have a good day.